What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. Today, your Pathfinder 2nd edition preview content rolls right on. We're so close to having our hands on the playtest, having our hands on Doomsday Dawn, which is gonna run here on the channel, by the way. Super stoked. Today, though, we're talking about the blog. It's a trap. If you guys are liking what you're seeing, as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we're proud to announce we've received yet another new patron today. This episode of Your Pathfinder 2nd edition preview content was brought to you in part by Jeremy Kevin Styles. Thank you so much for your help, my friend. Now, let's dive in. Actually, before we dive in case you didn't know, Paizo went over character creation on their YouTube channel, and the character sheet's horizontal, for one. That's weird to me. Anywho, we're not going to talk about that here today, but we are going to say that over at the Inn of Planar Crossroads, best friends of the channel, we spent a little bit of time last night talking about it, and if you'd like to hear all the crazy stuff that's going on, follow this card right up here to be directed now. Traps. Quote, hazards are some of the most common challenges in Pathfinder, apart from monsters, and the most common hazards are traps. Most of the hazards in the Pathfinder playtest are traps, but there are also environmental hazards like mold and quicksand, or even haunts, which are personally my favorite because they're so versatile. Rather than having different rules for each type of hazard, in the playtest hazards all have a unified format, though how you might find them and deal with them can be quite different. Most hazards can be noticed using perception, although simple or obvious magical hazards are easily noticeable via detect magic and similar magic. Some hazards are so easy to locate that you might notice them even if you aren't searching. Other hazards might be created or hidden in a particularly devious way and require a certain proficiency rank to notice them before it's too late. Even if you're searching, the blog notes the rogue's trap finder feat improves this even further in the case of traps, but any character with legendary perception can find any perception-based hazard, not just rogues, so it's not super necessary to have a rogue anymore to find those super powerful traps later on in the game. The skill needed to disable a hazard varies. Traps are usually disabled via thievery, environmental hazards via nature or survival, and haunts via occultism or religion, though there are exceptions in every category. Many hazards require a certain number of successes before they are fully disabled, and a critical success typically counts as 2 successes. A critical failure means you've accidentally triggered the hazard. Many physical hazards can also be destroyed by brute force. We felt it was really important to make dealing with hazards a more narrative experience without taking lots of extra time or requiring the GM to make up details on the spot, and so every skill that can be used to disable a hazard is listed in the stat block, along with a description of how a PC would use that skill to do so, and I really like that. Traps have been a mainstay of the tabletop RPG world, but a lot of times it's like, oh, okay, there's a trap there. Okay, hold up. Disable device. Dice bounces off table. Well, I have a dice right here. We can simulate that. It's the 21st century. 35, disable device. And so it was, and that trap is disabled. Haunts, everyone spams positive energy into the thing until it's destroyed. Now if it's a little more narrative-based and a little more several successes needed to get past it, it makes it a little more real, a little more dangerous, and a little less of a stumbling block. Yeah, sure, I can get behind that. Especially if my ranger can eventually make these. Yeah, did you know rangers are really good now? Follow this card right here if you didn't. Still can't process, still playing one. Anywho, moving forward, we'll be looking at 2 different types of hazards in the Pathfinder playtest, simple and complex. A simple hazard triggers, takes its reaction, and then is done. A complex hazard rolls initiative and shifts the game into encounter mode until the PCs deal with it, or at least, get out of there. The first one we're looking at today is the Hidden Pit. Classic. Its hazard level is 0. Its stealth DC is 16. It has a description. A trapdoor covers a 10-foot square pit that is 20 feet deep. Its disable is Thievery DC 12 to remove the trapdoor, making the trap no longer hidden, with a perception DC 0 to notice. Its armor class is 10, its touch is 7, it's got a +1 to fort and reflex, so I guess we aren't poisoning the door just for free, it's gonna try to roll. Its hardness is 4, it's immune to critical hits, object immunities, so poison, and precision damage. It's got a reaction known as Pitfall, the trigger being, of course, a creature walks onto the trapdoor. The effect being the triggering creature falls in and takes falling damage, typically 10 bludgeoning damage. The creature can use the grab edge reaction to avoid falling. On reset, the trap still causes falling damage if anyone falls in, but the trapdoor must be reset manually for the trap to become hidden again. So that's a lot of information. That's almost what we'd expect from like a magic item for a trap. And that's really cool because again, traps are such an integral part of the tabletop RPG world, especially at really low levels where they're still threatening and the party's not going to just fly over them or shoot a disintegration ray or whatever fancy non-greatsword type spells you might be throwing at something to make it blow up forever. Now it makes it truly feel almost more like an encounter. Since the stealth DC does not require a proficiency rank, anybody can find the pit, but if someone walks onto the door, the pit uses its reaction to open up. Pretty straightforward here. Let's look at the next thing we got on the blog, the Armageddon Orb. Its hazard level is 23. Ooh, that's a big one. Stealth DC 10, or detect magic on this magical trap. It's a rolling red orb forged from a drop of Rovagug's blood. Fun. Rains fire from the sky when a specified condition is met. The disable is Thievery DC 51 Legendary. There's those big numbers we love in Pathfinder. Yes! To imbue Thieves' tools with aspects representing Asmodeus and Sarenrae and use them to drain away the orb's power over 10 minutes, taking 5 fire damage each round during that time. Its reaction, burn it all! Divine, evocation, and fire. The trigger is a special condition set by the trap's creator, typically on the event of her death. Fire rains down from the sky in a 100-mile radius, dealing 10d6 fire damage to creatures and objects in the area. Reflex DC 46, Jesus, for half damage or no damage under critical success. Any creature reduced to 0 hit points in this way dies instantly. This is not enough damage to completely burn away a forest or level a mountain or city, but it typically kills most creatures in the area. Yeah, you don't say. Whew! Okay, yeah, that's real powerful. That's real bad. That hurts a lot of people, and probably the party too. That's real good. 10d6 fire damage to everything within a 100-mile radius. Yeah, okay, maybe it won't kill the party. At hazard level 23, we imagine the party's buffed enough to like at least look that in the eye and laugh at it. But everything around them is burned to ash. Also, that flavor is real good. And that definitely drives the narrative. No better way to get the PCs to do what you want than to not set off the Armageddon Orb. How does my ranger make this trap? I need to know. Because reasons. Anyway, Bloodthirsty Urge is next. It is a haunt. We're looking at a hazard level of 10, a stealth DC 29 trained, so you gotta be trained on perception to find it, is an object imbued with the echoes of a vicious mind. It tries to kill someone who comes near. Its disable is a religion DC 27 master to exercise the spirit, or diplomacy DC 29 expert to talk it down. Its reaction, Quietus, has the emotion, fear, illusion, mental, and occult descriptors. The trigger, a creature moves within 10 feet of the haunted object. The effect, the haunt takes control of the triggering creature, forcing it to attack itself. The creature is affected by Phantasmal Killer, DC 25, except that instead of mental damage, the damage type is based on a weapon the creature has drawn, an object it holds, or its unarmed attack damage if it holds nothing. So yeah, haunts are probably my favorite kind of hazard in Pathfinder 1st Edition because they're just so versatile and you can do whatever you want with them. It's not necessarily like spike pits or swords come out of the walls to stab at you. No, it's usually ghosts and malevolent spirits and stuff, and the flavor goes 100% where you want it to go. In 1st Edition, it was a very popular method of solving these haunts to just lay on hands, spam positive energy, channel all the channeling. Now we see that it's disabled with a knowledge religion check or a diplomacy check, which in a way makes the cleric and the paladin in certain settings take up that same mantle as the old school rogue, which is entirely different, and I can respect that. Also, I like that there's a diplomacy DC in addition to the religion DC, because if you didn't bring a cleric with you, this thing might just kill you super dead. Anywho, last up today, the Spinning Blade Pillar. The hazard level is 4. It's a complex mechanical trap with a stealth of +10 trained or DC 24 expert to notice the control panel. Its description, a metal pole with 3 razor-sharp spinning blades, is hidden in the floor connected to trigger plates in up to 8 floor tiles, and a hidden control panel within 30 feet. To disable, we're looking at a DC 18 Thievery trained twice on the pillar, or Thievery DC 16 Expert once on the control panel to deactivate the entire trap. The trap has an armor class of 19, a touch armor class of 15, a fortitude of +6, a reflex of +10. Its hardness is 11 with 2 dents. If we're talking about the pillar, denting the panel causes the trap to stay constantly active and prevents disabling the panel. It's immune to critical hits, has object immunities, and is also immune to precision damage. Its reaction is known as Rising Pillar. When a creature steps on one of those 8 floor tiles, the trap pops up in a grid intersection and makes a spinning blade attack against one adjacent creature, if any, then rolls initiative. Next, we see something called a routine. 3 actions. On its initiative, the trap spends its first action making a spinning blade attack against each adjacent creature. Its second action to move straight in a random direction, roll a d4 to determine, and its third action to attack each adjacent creature. The trap does not take a multiple attack penalty. Its speed is 10 feet. That attack is spinning blade +12, which does 2d10, +5 slashing. The trap does deactivate and reset after 1 minute or 10 rounds. And yeah, here we see a bunch of ways to kill the players in the Pathfinder playtest. What are you guys thinking about all this? Really, personally, the only thing I can think about is how can I get my ranger to make these? Because rangers are supposed to be the trap masters. Here's some traps. I need this for, again, reasons. But what kind of traps do you guys like to throw at your players? And will you be using traps in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Maybe even, on Fantasy Grounds, because we're giving away a copy of Fantasy Grounds Ultimate Edition. 1 copy is enough for you and all your players. Follow this card right up here to enter in that giveaway. Remember, patronage at any tier does get you an extra entry. And hey, if I can get to $300 still, probably, I'm okay with running Doomsday Dawn for another group of 6. But that's neither here nor there. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content drops this Tuesday.